I'm going to talk to you for the next few minutes, and it'll actually lead way a segment into Stephen Hill's talk on the bloody truth. So I'm going to talk to you about the primitive view of God in the Old Testament. I think all of us, as we come to see, we come to the realization of who God is, and we come to the realization of how loving He is, and that He's a Father, and that judgment is setting things right, and that God's going to save everyone, And then there's the Old Testament, and a lot of people, to such a degree, a lot of people can see this contrast, and they even think like, is there like two gods? Is there like a God, an Old Testament God and a New Testament God? And I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes about the primitive view of God in the Old Testament, and where this sort of, I try to work through this years and, in my studies, and, I'm making notes and getting thoughts. And then one day reading just this is a simple truth. You know how realization is though, simple verse. Yes, I know that. And then, oh my, do I know that? Just whoo, and it came from Colossians 1:15 that Jesus Christ is the image of the invisible God. He is the image of the invisible God. The Greek word icon. He's the icon of God. It's interesting that Adam, all the way back at the beginning of the story, God says, "Let us make man in our image." So it's something we were introduced to way back in the Old Testament. And yet the last Adam is also an image of God. And in fact, Hebrews tells us that he's the express image of his person, the express image of his person. Bullinger defines the Greek word, and this Greek word here is character, and his character, and he defines this word as the exact impression. Metal, an image to metal, or an image to wax, so that we have an exact impression. He's not only the image of God, he's the exact expression of God. Beautiful, beautiful words. And of course, the icon, the Greek word in the first one, is its definition is likeness, representation, resemblance. Jesus Christ resembles God. Sometimes we go places with. I have 3 sons and a daughter, but often with one of my sons, someone will say, "Oh wow, okay, you all look alike." Thankfully they don't say that about my daughter. But okay, so there's a likeness, there's a resemblance, there's a representation. And, in fact, that first word that gets translated image here in Colossians 1, icon, is, it gets, Jesus talks about it. He asked for a coin, right? And he they were talking about, they were going in a tax debate, should there be an IRS or not? Should there be federal income tax or not? They're just carrying on about, Jesus said, well, give me a coin. And he said, whose image is on there? And here's a quarter. Who is that on this quarter? Caesar. Okay, yeah, there's the Bible answer. Okay. I was talking about this one now. George Washington, right? And what is that? Okay, here, George Washington's on the quarter. The kids, we learn this in school, right? So George Washington's in my pocket. What's he doing in my pocket? I thought sure he was of it, Mama. No, what? Anyway, I thought he was in Virginia in a grave somewhere. No, this is his image. His image is here. It's been stamped here. In fact, both words work really nice for it. Even the word character, that it's an impress on metal or an impress on wax, and it's a likeness of him, Jesus Christ. And by the way, an image, an image, you aren't your own image. And so this is the image of George Washington, but it's not George Washington. And so Jesus Christ is the image of the invisible God, but he's more than that. He's the express image, the exact likeness. So much that Jesus could say, if you've seen me, who have you seen, by the way? You have seen God. Hold on. All right. Now, and surely that's true, but what did he say? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Back to talking about, we call him Father. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And so what we have is this exact image of God in the person of Jesus Christ. The word express, the express image of God. At some point along the way, I realized, okay, the express image of God, I don't even really know what, I realized I don't even know what that means exactly. Merriam-Webster, just our English word, express. I'm thinking it's the quick line. Right? Jesus is the quick line. Well, yeah, I guess he is the quick line to the Father. But anyway, but Merriam-Webster says that the adjective express, it means exact and precise, which, by the way, exactly matches the Greek word, which is cool when that happens. Webster's 1828 says that the word means, that this word express means clear, direct, not ambiguous. Okay? And a couple translations that I liked when I looked over all the translations, somebody mentioned being King James. I was King James only. I was one of them crazy King James. I was raised that way. In our church, if you had other Bibles, they belonged in the trash can. I mean, really, out there. Maybe you were there. But it's interesting because it's even there. But in some of the other versions, like the Hallman Christian Standard, it says that he's the exact expression. And by the way, expression. And then all of a sudden, okay, boy, I see that. He's the expression of God. But more so, is the expression of the Father. And it's exact. Okay? And then also, it's Rotherham that says exact representation. In fact, who's he called? He's called Emmanuel. God with us. Beautiful truths. And then it dawned on me. In the course of human history, God's writing a story. We'll talk about this tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the divine drama. But if God wrote a story, it's written. He's wrote a story, a drama that's going through time. And it has acts. In fact, it has, a play is divided into acts. And there's 5 of them, the 5 ages, the different acts of God. And yet it's not till Jesus Christ comes on the scene that we get an image, a likeness, an expression of God that is exact, is perfect, is full and complete. Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ comes on the scene, and he's the express image of God. Could we see God in the Old Testament? Of course. But if we take this literally, if we take this verse literally, then no one ever experienced the exact likeness of God until Jesus Christ came. Jesus Christ. So I wrote down some of the words that were from the Greek and also English definitions for express. Just to get in our mind. So Jesus Christ is the perfect image of God. He's the exact, he's the precise, he's the clear, he's the unambiguous, he's the complete, he's the accurate. And I added this because of a verse I have here somewhere. Yeah, this next one I'm talking about. He's the unfolded view of God. Because in John 1:17 and 18, it says that grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Not only was Jesus Christ the exact image of God, but grace and truth came with him. Was there no grace and truth before Jesus Christ? No, there was no exact grace and perfect grace and precise grace and clear truth until Jesus shows up. Who, skipping a couple phrases, who is in the bosom of, could have said God. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. There's a shift going on. And that's the major thrust of what we call him Father. There is a couple slight hints in the Old Testament that God was Father. And Jesus Christ comes, and I think it's 150 times, he either calls him his Father or talks to those around him that they're his Father. And he taught them to pray, Our Father. Oh my goodness. This was revolutionary revelation that God was Father. I believe that God created everything in this life as an illustration and a purpose, a part of the divine drama to teach us something. And God created the family to teach us about God. We didn't come up with a family. We didn't say, you know what, it'd be cool if we'd be male and female. Let's work on that. And I guess people are working on that today. But anyway, but male and female was God's idea. And the marriage relationship, say, Dad, I had this epiphany the other day. Let's have marriages. That was God's idea. And that you'd have parents and fathers and mothers, and you'd have children. And this whole relationship. And you know why? God is setting the stage so that he can reveal himself in the family unit, in the illustrative family unit that we live every day. Now, maybe a lot of us didn't have good fathers, and I had a wonderful one. I had the best father ever. In fact, I often say he's the greatest man that I ever knew. I'm so blessed, had a great mother, a great family. God set me up to get this picture in my head of what God is about. Now, I realize not everybody has that. In fact, for my birthday, Stephen got me a coin. Now, a coin with my father's image on it. And then on the back, it said, the greatest man I know. And I have this coin. I have the image of my father. Oh, man, what a wonderful gift that is. And he died in 96. And, man, I miss him. Somebody was talking about missing. I miss him. Wow. And so I've really been blessed. But even if you didn't have a good father, you knew and you know what a good father is. In fact, that's why you know you didn't have a good one, because you know what a good father should be. And God sets that whole thing up about love and nurturing and creation. The children they're created and they come from the Father, and he builds this whole story just so there could be this big revelation, this huge truth. Hold on to your seats. The great, high, exalted God, whose ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts, and he's deep in the holy of holies. He's our dad. Oh my gosh. In 1963, just weeks before his assassination, John F. Kennedy was in the Oval Office with a photographer. And the iconic picture, right? And John is playing under his desk. Who gets to do that? If your dad, if your father's the president of the United States, you get to play under his desk. Yeah. None of the rest. Who can even get in that office? You know? Oh my gosh. Who can get access to God? We can play under his desk. Yeah. So what is all, what is all this telling us? So I'll even say this. So Jesus Christ then, the express image of God, he's the true ID. Whoops, got the D in front there. That's that dyslexia. The true ID of God is Jesus Christ. If you want to know God and you want to know what God's like and you want to have a relationship with God, you got to have the true ID. Now, I know some states are probably way ahead of everybody else. In Pennsylvania, I think we're kind of slow. And I finally, just a few weeks ago, finally got me one of them true IDs. And I got that little star on it, and that's pretty cool. And I know some of you have had yours for years probably, and mine's in here somewhere. Oh my gosh, I've lost my ID. There it is. And look, my true ID. And guess what's on there? An image. An image is on the true ID. Now, who's that an image of? That's an image of me. That's not me. You'd be very confused if you thought that's me. Because I'm right here, but this is my image. And when someone wants to know who I am, what are they going to ask for? Can you please show me your ID? And you're like, what the heck? You can't see I'm real? You can't see I exist? But if they want your ID, what do? You show them an icon. You show them a character. And it's the true one. And this is the true one because it's the real one. It's the real ID. I don't know where true. I think it's a real ID or true ID. Real ID, isn't it? Anyway, so it's true and real. But you know what this means, right? If Jesus Christ is the express image of God and grace and truth came through him, and he, what does he do? Who is in the bosom of the Father, he, concordant version, what does he do? I think, what does the King James say, reveals? I love this word. He unfolds him. God in the Old Testament is all folded up. And Jesus Christ unfolds him. And you get to know who he is. Now, if this verse is true, here's what we absolutely know. And this has been so helpful to me in my study. It's like the lights came on. Before Jesus Christ showed up, you have an image of God that was imperfect, inexact, unprecise, unclear, ambiguous, incomplete, inaccurate, and folded up. You have no idea. We have no idea who God is until we get to Jesus Christ. That pretty much means in the Old Testament, without this revelation, you're groping in the dark. Without this icon, without this true picture, you do not know what's going on. And I'll tell you what it does look like's going on. It looks like a pagan, vengeful, distant God. And the only reason we know different is we got the clear picture. Jesus Christ. And once you get the clear picture, now we can read backwards. Now that we got the picture, now we know what we're looking for. It's almost like solving a puzzle, right? You get that puzzle. Boy, I hate puzzles. You get that puzzle, and it's what, it got 1,000 pieces, and you throw them all over the table. You know what you really need? You need the picture on the front, so you know what in the world's going on. That's the icon of the puzzle. That's the image, all put together. And now you can start looking at all the little pieces. You say, oh, you start putting them together. Oh my gosh, this is starting to all make sense now. No one had any frame of reference to make any real sense of true grace, true truth, the true God, who's the Father, because it is Jesus who unfolds them. Jesus said, oh, the other verse I was thinking about putting up here is Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, the life. Well, what about before he came? Well, the way is a little obscure. The truth is a little obscure. It's there, bad eyesight. It's veiled, okay? You and I got the tools to go back and have a blast in the Old Testament, but only if we know who's the exact image of God. Only if we let him unfold the. Who's he unfolding? Watch now. Who is he unfolding? That's why we call him Father. Because that's who he's unfolding. You might get a mighty sovereign deity if you read the Old Testament. You might get one who seems intolerable, and you might get a John F. Kennedy that looks like a president instead of a John F. Kennedy that looks like your dad. And you're just having a great time with him. This is beautiful truth and will help you work your way. So we go back and read the Old Testament in the light of the fact that God is hid back there, his true character. We talk about, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about this again, the great drama of the ages. God set up, God is the greatest storyteller who ever existed. God is the greatest playwright. God is the greatest director and producer. He is the greatest casting agent. He has designed a story that's going somewhere. No chance, no happenstance, no accidents, and it is beautiful. We just didn't get to the end yet. Well, unless you read the end, right? Behold, I make all things new. But that's what we're looking for. A-double-L again. Not just some things. If you obeyed me and kept the law and repented and asked forgiveness and confessed with your mouth, and then all those people are going to be made new. No, he's going to make it all new. And it's just going to be wonderful. So something's going on in the Bible. There's a progression. We might call it progressive revelation. There's this hiding, which is great. The scriptures talk about it a lot. Paul talks a lot about secrets and mysteries, and Jesus revealed secrets about the kingdom. And there's things that God, he just, kept them tucked away. Just like with your children, you're gonna do something wonderful, and you just keep it concealed. You don't tell them about what's coming. And God keeps these things hidden. But once you know, you can go back and see things peeping out. You can see things. You ever watch? I love probably one of my favorite kind of movies is where I don't have any clue what's going on. I like those. That's pretty easy for me, by the way. Yeah, Nathan is really good. He watches these. What do you call these movies? But anyway, these movies like that. I think they have a name, but I can't think what it is. But they're not mysteries, but they're like intrigue and nothing's what it seems. And you got to be careful around Nathan and don't ask him because he's got to figure it out way in advance. And me, I'm the credits are rolling. I'm going, what just happened there? And one of the first ones that had probably the greatest impact on me was The Sixth Sense. I had no clue what was going on. And even at the end, the ring's rolling on the floor, and I'm, and I know exactly where to look. So I looked at Nathan. What happened there? Okay. And then you're like, what do you say? How did I miss that? It was so obvious once it's explained to you. And then what do you want to do? I want to watch that movie again. We got time tonight. Let's start it over. And then it's as plain as day, isn't it? And you just see it everywhere. This is our experience in the study of the scriptures. Once you see the express image of his person, once you're introduced to the true revelation of God, true grace, true truth. And by the way, it's the whole ministry of Jesus Christ. It's his earthly ministry to Israel. And then death, burial, and resurrection, then he gets ascended up far above all heavens. And he continues that revelation process. He continues to unfold God and open him up. In Paul's epistles, when Paul talks about the secret administration, he talks about all the truths hidden God from generations. Wow. And now we go back and watch the movie again. We're like, there he is. Oh my gosh, I see him. He's all right there. He was there all the time. We just didn't know it, I watched another one like that recently, and I found out Stephen had, and we're like, oh my goodness, get right to the end. I had no clue what was going on. Yeah, those are a lot of fun. Well, who's the master at that? Who's the master at hiding things? Who's the master of disguise and holding things back? And there's enough there, but there's only enough there if you got the express image. That's the only way. So what's happening in the Old Testament? In fact, 2 Corinthians 5:17, Paul says, this is a concordant version, there is a new creation. God's going somewhere. Behold, I make all things new. God's going somewhere. He's going to make everything over. Beautiful. And then the primitive is passing away. It's going to be gone. All that. And I'll tell you that the view of God in the Old Testament is primitive, very elementary. And God, I'll just say this in closing, give you a couple examples. So in the Old Testament, God is dealing, by the time Abraham comes on the scene, God has already turned the Gentile. God has already turned all the nations of the world over to paganism. And then God begins to deal with Israel in pagan concepts. Because you got to get them from their concept of God, of paganism. And he's going to bring them over slowly till finally he gets to Jesus Christ that takes the veil off. I don't know if you're following that or not, but that's the divine setup. And by the way, we all experience that same sort of transition, most of us in our own lives. We're raised in sort of pagan views of God, just like Israel in the Old Testament. We get little glimpses of him. And then slowly Father leads us out. Slowly Father takes us somewhere, and where he's taken us to is Jesus Christ. He's taken us to the true and perfect image of God, and how beautiful that is. Here's what we know about writing the story, though. What we know about writing the story is that God is the main actor. Now, really good playwrights and directors can be in their own movies. They can do it all. And God is a great actor in the Old Testament. A couple great examples. Adam in the garden, 40 seconds. Adam in the garden. Adam has a false image of God, right? Because he was afraid and hid himself. He's afraid of God, false image. God plays along, right? And he goes, where are you, Adam? Where are you? Because he thinks he's hiding. And God plays along. Abraham. God tells Abraham, I want you to offer up your son Isaac. That's paganism, right? But think about it for a moment. If God wrote all the story, he actually wrote paganism. so that the world would become pagan, so that he could pretend to be pagan, so that when you finally figure out who he is, you're going to say, oh man, is this good?